What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Battery Not Included podcast. This is episode 1. This is our first one ever, the inauguration, the jump off, as I like to say. Our first guest, I couldn't have thought of a better person than my buddy over here, Eddie Perez. You may know him from his crazy IMDb list. He is a 3-time Emmy Award winner, SAG Award winner, the governor of the Emmys, in the stunt categories.
Yeah, Stunt Peer Group, yeah.
And the list goes on and on. I mean, I could sit here for a good 15 minutes kind of going over everything that you've done, which is so impressive because not only is it the stunt stuff, it's producing, it's directing, it's acting. I mean, you've been in the game for quite a long time.
Yeah. So it's time flies. It goes by quick, man.
And so it's been, what, over 40 years?
No, 30
30?
now. Yeah, 30 something. Yeah.
And so
Crazy.
when you first got into the industry, what was your goal? Because like I just mentioned, producing, directing.
Yeah, I started out training actors, so that was my first introduction. And my buddy Isai Morales was doing a movie at the time. I just gotten out of college called La Bamba, and he had me come onto the movie to like work as his stand-in, and then Taylor Hackford, who's the director, an amazing director, was the producer on it, and they put me in the movie because I wanted to do stunts, and he let me do a little stunt coordinator, let me do a little piece, and that kind of introduced me to it. I was going to go into sports medicine and training, and I started training actors, and it kind of progressed into what it became. I just always kept myself open to opening doors and not limiting myself, I guess. I always tell people I envy people like John Singleton and other people like him that always knew what they wanted to do in life. I really was heading in one direction, then headed in another direction, then headed in another direction. I just kept myself like open to like, I just want to have fun, in life. I did early on in life regular jobs, 9 to 5s, and that was just not me. And I was like, I just don't ever want to sit at a desk and spend my whole life just doing one thing. So it's always keep it fresh and keep evolving kind of thing.
When you say training actors, how did you come into that? Was it like that you knew a bunch of actors through work or through your network, or?
Yeah, I'd worked at nightclubs in New York, and I'd met Mickey Rourke and a bunch of people, and Mickey was instrumental helping me come out here, and I stayed with him for a while, and we would run and work out together. And then at the time, the trend was personal trainers, so I had, studied that and was going to go into that before I transitioned and decided that was not for me. And there was a trainer, Dan Isaacson, who trained John Travolta and a bunch of people, and he was up in, and he asked me to work with them, and I went to New York and trained with Anthony Michael Hall, and we were friends, and we are friends to this day. And I just started training people, and then from that, it was like, I really want to do stunts. It's progression, and a lot of people, there was a lot of negative towards that. It's like, well, there's not a lot of you people around, and it's like, okay, well, fine. I'm gonna keep forging in that direction. And then, Blood In, Blood Out came out, which is Taylor Hackford, and the gang thing started going, and I was like, hey, I fit in there. That's a world I can go into, and that kind of helped keep food on the table and keep my career going and give me opportunities that I wouldn't have had.
And so it was stunts that originally kind of got you going. It wasn't like, hey, I want to be an actor. It was more, I love the action.
It was stunts, and I studied acting because a lot of my friends were like, going to an acting class, and I always say I was able to act just enough to get myself in trouble. I could do just enough to do what I need to do, but if it got too long, I was like, I'm out. And it's a muscle. I just don't have that muscle to train, and I didn't really care to.
Mm-hmm.
I like the niche I wound up in. I say a few lines, I get killed. I say a few lines, I fight. All right, awesome.
And I train other people how to beat up other people.
Yeah, yeah. And as I did that, I progressed, and I was like, okay, I love the art of filmmaking, and I always did. And I was a latchkey kid, so my parents would always, door open and the TV was there, so kind of the TV raised me, so it was something that I was always wanting to be a part of. I didn't know till I became a part of it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, you get to affect people, get to create, and I've been very lucky with a lot of people I work with that, I was able to put my life into that and say, hey, when I was growing up, I saw this and I saw this, it was super violent, and people were like, we should do that then. I was like, okay, cool. So I've been very fortunate in that way.
Yeah, it's funny you say the latchkey kid. I was the same. My mom, I was raised by a single mother, and she would, work 9 to 5, actually sometimes more. And so I grew up watching, movies like Indiana Jones was in Star Wars. But for me as a kid, I always knew I wanted to be in some sort of filmmaking creative type because not having a father figure, Harrison Ford became my father figure. And I would sit in front of watching. And then and funny enough is I played G.I. Joes. I was so involved with designing and directing. And I actually played with G.I. Joes, I think, all the way until almost closeted until seventh grade. And so I remember I had friends over and they saw some of my G.I. Joes and they're like, you don't still play with these dolls, do you? And I'm like, no, of course not. But in reality, they'd leave and they'd be like, oh, okay. And so I something about growing up in front of a TV, growing up in front of these movies, this escape, this ability to see ourselves, I don't know, that to me resonated so much with me, hearing when you had originally spoke about that. And so once you started kind of getting in the mix of this, when did the idea come to move out to LA? Because you're in New York. Actually, before you've told me about who'd you used to work with in New York. The scene back then was insane.
We talked about it. Like the scene in New York was, I think it was, late 80s, early 90s, and the John Hughes era had started, and all those films.
Amazing actions.
Yeah. So I mean, you had like all over New York, like is it Limelight? Chaz Palminteri worked the door at the Limelight. You had Cafe Central. You had Joe Pesci was the maitre d' there. You had Michael Pare worked, I think, in the kitchen. Bruce Willis was a bartender at one of the bars. I worked at a club called the Underground, and our DJ was Jelly Bean, and his girlfriend was Madonna, who would play at the club. So it was just a really different time in that there was no line between. It was weird when I came out to LA, and it was like, okay, this is the gay area. This is where, the Hispanics hang out. This is where this, and it was like New York was such a melting pot of like, nobody cared if you were artistic or whatever. Everybody hung out somewhere, and that was it. It was just a vibe. So it was really weird to come here, and it's like everybody was so segregated.
Interesting.
And I was like, okay, so we can't go. Well, yeah, they don't go there. We don't go there. It's like, okay, that was not what was going on in New York. So that was a weird cultural shift.
And so back then, what the filmmaking, how would you say it was different from then than it is now? I mean, I felt like when I first got in the industry at 2007, there was this idea that it could happen and that the doors where everything was possible, anything was possible.
Yeah.
And as we're now in 2026 now, I feel like it's almost not like that anymore. Or at least maybe I'm just jaded throughout my journey that I don't see it as much. But back then, I mean, you're surrounded by all these amazing, talented people. What was the vibe back then? Was it that anything could happen, or what was?
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry was still in an upflow of sorts, and it was film. It wasn't digital, so you were still limited to what you could do, and there was so much, innovation going on that people were excited about the innovation. You could try things and new things, so there wasn't, and also the studios were all run by filmmakers, so it wasn't corporate. It wasn't about the bottom line, the dollar, how much can you spend? You know, there were movies that were going on that were, you know, at that time, seriously expensive for the time and didn't do well, but everybody's like, well, it was an art film and, you know, it was acceptable. Like, hey, shit happens. Somebody tried it. And I think because we've gotten to a point now where there's a shift and the industry's grown so much, the people that have been in it for a while are being very negative, and the corporate consolidation and also the globalness of it now because of social media, there's this real like darkness to it that doesn't need to happen. Because if you're coming, and again, it's coming from I think the older generation, I guess I should say, if they forgot what it's like to be excited about doing something new. Mm. And everybody's going, oh, don't go into this business. It's horrible. It's negative. It's like, but it was tough for everybody. It's just that now you're putting this cloud on it that, you know, we need to kind of get away from and try to, and also people, because of social media and everything, again, people aren't getting together and doing stuff. You know, everybody's watching it, but there's not that sense of, hey, let's all collaborate and do something cool. Mm. Everybody's doing like their own thing, and there's small pockets. But then, since you didn't have social media, people had no choice but to get together and do stuff.
Or go to a theater and watch a movie.
Or go to a theater and watch a movie,
Yeah, I noticed that it's really unfortunate right now that you don't have those Roger Corman types who are, you know, throwing a $200,000 budget to anybody who think you can do it, go do it. I mean, that's where you really start to build amazing directors and amazing actors and actresses, is through those smaller projects up. And now it's so algorithm based. It's like, I'm sure they have some exec doing a Google Analytics search on the top search terms. Oh, this Marvel character is being searched.
Cameron, I mean, you were just saying James Cameron was a set designer for him.
Yeah.
And Paxton was his dresser, his prop guy. I remember when I first met him, he was like, hey, I'm working with this guy, Jim. He's doing this cool movie I'm going to be in. I was like, oh, okay.
And that was Terminator?
Yeah, true. And Bill had a little part in it, but, you know, they worked together throughout the years.
Yeah.
And there's a real friendship that built up there. And again, there was that sense of, you know, do something small and raw, and it was cool to do. And now it's like, unless it's, you know, you can do something cool and small, but you got to have a big name actor to it. You got to have, it's business now. It's not art. I mean, there's still creative stuff going on, but it's smaller.
And do you feel like production companies like, I guess, A24, do you feel like they're kind of taking in a new, kind of the older direction where it's more artist-based, or do you still think it's kind of algorithm-based type content?
I mean, I think they're taking chances, which is cool. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how much I don't know their business model as much as they're trying new stuff, which got to give them credit. Anybody that's trying something new.
Agreed.
I mean, was it Warner Brothers this year? It's like, oh, we made so much money because we did new movies. Go figure. I was like, really? Go figure. You know, and I understand the business. Again, it's understanding the business side of it, that like Fox, I think Fox has X-Men and I forgot what else. And they have to do an X-Men every 4 years, or they lose the rights. So there's a lot of business to it. So it's like, I don't think they care if it's good or bad, as long as they keep the rights.
Quota.
Yeah, right. They hit the quota. So it's like, there's a lot of that people need to understand, more so the business side of it, to know how to kind of navigate it. Not that I know anything special, but I do kind of look and read and go, okay, so this is where this is going. This is it. And it's like, where do I fit in here type thing.
Yeah, because you've started here and now you're here.
Yeah.
Because you're still active in the industry.
Yeah, I'm still active and I still work. I'm grateful to be working. And a lot of times I'll do, you know, small student films or whatever. And it's not about the money. Sometimes it's nice to be around new filmmakers and see the excitement to get kind of revitalized. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I was that. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is fun. You know, and when you're on a big budget movie, it's so precise. It's like, get you in and out, thanks, bye. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you're there and it's like everybody's trying to do stuff together and trying to figure stuff out. It's like, I remember this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, one of our conversations that we had, and if you can talk about it, I totally understand, but we were talking about my show, the Origins
Okay.
series, and how I was filming motorcycle riding and no permits.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out and shooting it, and you had a story of saying, "Oh my gosh, I remember those days when because you worked on Sins of Anarchy,
Yeah.
and you were telling me how you wanted to do where you guys were riding on top of
Yeah.
the wall,
Yeah.
the border wall, and how long that took just to get that one shot because you had to go through all the hoops and the channels, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't even as much as I was just riding, thank God. But it was just the process of getting that done, and they had to CGI it and do everything. And little did we know it rained the day before, so we're on containers. It's slipping and sliding, and there's ramps, and it's a short ramp, and it's this and that. And it was, but it was, at the end of the day, it was fun. But I mean, that's what makes it fun. It's like you work so hard all day, and then you get done. It's like, holy shit, these guys pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it was the ad. It wasn't actually the show. There was the ad to the opening of the show and a kind of a commercial. So it was an ad company too, which added a different vibe. It wasn't the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a mix and match and them trying to work. And, it was fun, but it was back to like OG filmmaking.
Mm.
Like, hey, we got to let air out of the tires. Can't crash these bikes. And it was take you back to those days.
And so for anybody who hasn't seen, if you go on YouTube and you search Sons of Anarchy, border wall, motorcycle, I think I looked it up.
Yeah.
And basically what they did is they recreated the border wall from Mexico to America.
Yeah, you're right.
And then had the guys riding their motorcycles on top of it. So it was an insanely cool shot. It was like a drone shot. And
they did.
A beautiful shot. And so, but yeah, I guess getting to the art of creating and getting back to the roots of that, and kind of how in our current setup in our system, we've kind of lost that and it's become so corporate and algorithmic based. Do you think that, are you seeing that it's starting to get back to that root of creation? I know like in the 1950s and 60s, they had all the big major film companies were starting to falter. You had the Vietnam War, you had the hippie movement, and then you had Panic in Needle Park. You had all these new indie films coming out. It kind of overthrew the older system. Are you kind of seeing that happening now, or is it a different type of, or where are we right now? I guess
I think that's the $1 trillion question that everybody's asking. I think there's such a unknown right now that everybody is with AI coming. And AI, I feel it's going to be a tool. It's a good tool. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people don't realize if you go back 15 years ago when 360 came out, everybody's like, oh, 360 is going to end, film as we know it. Didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It has its place now, but it didn't. When we did, first person stuff, it's like first person is going to change. Mm-hmm. Storytelling is still storytelling. You still have to affect people. And AI will, I think AI will help tell, especially for fantasy and stuff, lower the budget, so make people be able to make bigger scope of film in a smaller way.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as taking over, it's, some things it might, some things it will. We'll see. Nobody's done a film yet. Let's see how that is perceived
and received.
And then we can take it from there. It's like everybody's panicking, and of course, we've had COVID, we've had actor strike, and I think next year you'll see better movies come out. I think this year, we talked about it, this is a result. This year's films have been a result of the actor strike and all the waivers they gave. I mean, the films are okay, but there's not like, it's Avatar, yes, but there's not a level of like, oh my God, there's all these 5 or 6 epic
banger
movies.
after banger
bangers,
after
like
banger,
holy shit, I don't know which one to pick.
Yeah.
Now it's like you got that and Frankenstein.
Yeah, or Sinners.
And F1.
F1 was good.
Sinners. You have a handful.
Yeah.
But not like
back to back
20 movies. You go, holy shit, which one?
Yeah. I remember I saw on Instagram there was like a movie theater, what's it called? A marquee. Yeah. And it was like Predator and, or I think something came out and Terminator. It was like all these movies were coming out at the
Yeah.
same time. And I remember I looked back. Oh, it was RoboCop, I think.
Yeah.
And I looked back going, holy cow, this
Yeah.
lineup for this year, what is banger after banger after
Yeah.
banger. And so I think kind of going back to what we're saying, where production companies were ran by film people who loved films,
Yeah.
you really started to see that, or you saw that reflected in the art in which that was being created. And now it's like it's kind of
Well, yeah, they wanted to take chances,
that's a big one.
and now it's a portfolio. You're part of a bigger group, and you have to, bottom line for the investors,
Investors, 100%.
which is great. But investors want to see good movies too.
Yeah.
You know.
I think if I'm investing
Yeah,
my
yeah,
dollar,
yeah.
I
Yeah,
wanna
if
see
I'm
it.
investing, I
I
want
mean,
to
it's
see
nice
it.
to make a little money, but
I want to know
Yeah.
I'm part of something that's like, okay, that's cool.
yeah.
Like I'm a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think from my perspective, when I got in the industry, like I said, in 2007, it was, we'd just gotten out of a strike, or it just started. And so everything had moved to reality TV. And so that's when you really started seeing this whole big reality TV boom. And I came to the industry wanting to get into filmmaking and TV. And so I was forced into this reality world, documentary world. And so I'm kind of now seeing that kind of, I don't know, burning out, I guess. There's
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to seems to be not as into reality TV anymore. You had like a lot of, and this is purely anecdotal, a lot of fall off on that. But from my perspective, is where we're going. I'm hearing more people wanting real story, real cinema. And when you hear people saying, gosh, these movies were so good, and then you're now seeing that reflected in the box office, where all these big movies are tanking and tanking and tanking. I feel like the writing is on the wall for up-and-coming filmmakers, or filmmakers with creative ideas like yourself, to really step up and kind of take it by the horns. And especially with the cost of production having gone down more. I mean, you can fly a drone. And I was watching an 80s movie the other day, and it was a helicopter shot. Oh, it was Son-in-Law in the 90s with Pauly Shore.
Right.
And it was a helicopter shot of the graduation. And I'm looking at that going, gosh, that must have been $250,000 for that shot right there.
Yeah.
And now we just fly a drone, and it'll look even cooler. And so the cost of production coming down, story, people are really wanting story. People are really longing for that old cinema style. I feel like we're creating a perfect storm. It's just a matter of one or two dominoes falling where that kind of rushes back in. And that was kind of going back to what I was saying with the 1950s turnover of the old studio system into this new indie, or back the American new wave. But I'm hoping that is what is happening, and I'm hoping that creators like ourselves can really jump on that and start doing something like that. I think it's just a matter of finding the right people who can bring your ideas to life.
Like everything else, it's just finding that avenue. And look, I mean, who would have thought the shift would be because of streaming television now?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell a longer story now,
Mm-hmm.
and some things need to be played out. It's hard to tell something in an hour and a half.
That's very true.
As you see, a lot of people are trying to do 3-hour movies, but it's also hard to sit in a theater for 3 hours.
That's true.
And in that room, in that space. But at home, when you're sitting there, and now you can have a 75-inch, 80-inch screen
And surround
sound system in your home. And I told you, I said I walk my dogs at night, and on Friday nights, it's kind of cool to see people having dinner parties. I walk through and I see apartments, and I see a bunch of people having dinner and putting up the screen and the joy of watching a movie. And it's like, it's happening, but it's not happening in the theater world of everybody going to the theater, because it's $18 for a ticket, $20 for popcorn, parking, getting there, then possibly
45 minutes of previews.
Yeah, 45 minutes of previews. Yeah, hopefully not having somebody behind you that feels the need to text their friends and take selfies in the theater that they're there, and so it's bringing that family environment back in some ways. So it's all a shift. It's like, guys, things are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
The world changes. You just got to go with the flow and figure it out.
It's funny, it's like the whole watching with the phones in the theaters. I was watching, or actually reading, actually both, but they're talking about how Netflix, there was a push through all the producers through new shows and new movies to make them second screen experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing that everybody is going to be on their phone while they're watching. And so what you're now noticing is there's, a lot of exposition where it's not just show. It used to be show, don't tell, but now it's show and tell. And so it's funny now that I'm kind of privy to this. I've been watching more Netflix shows with my wife, and I hear things like, so Cameron and I are going to go to the store to do this. And you know that they're going, that was just so on the nose exposition. Right. And so that was another thing I definitely wanted to bring up with you was, how do you compete with second screens, with cinema, with keeping it? Yeah. Or is that just our reality now?
I think you don't. You just make the best product that you can and hope that, I would think, people that watched Stranger Things this week and went to the movies, like if you're a fan and you're so involved in something and they capture you, you're going to focus.
Agreed.
So the idea is to do the best story you can and just capture people, hope to capture people. I mean, certain shows, if you don't watch them, you're not going to know what's going on and lose the plot. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, you want to sit on that phone and do that and lose out, that's on you. Mm-hmm. But do good work and make people think. And, TV and film has always been about, affecting people. And if you take that away, what's sure you can do it, but what's the point? Mm-hmm. Do something where you inspire people or make them think or, do something, not just mediocre.
Yeah, I think that's a big point. Also, I think we had spoken about this as well. Like when I went to a Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy show a couple of years ago, and they made me put my cell phone in a bag.
Yeah.
And so I've been seeing a lot of people online lobbying for this. If you go into the movie theater, put your
I agree. I think we should. I mean, I've done that on music videos. Do that when you're there. When I worked on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin has, you have a Checkpoint Charlie before you go on the set. They have all the little, but they have PAs there that, if you say, hey, I may have an emergency or something, they'll keep an eye on your phone, tell you, hey man, your phone rang, you go outside. But it was nice to be on the set and watch everybody communicate and talk to each other and be more efficient because everybody's present. Rather than like, oh, hey man, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. Oh, Bill, did you say something? Or, hey man, can you get that? Yeah, hang on a second. It's like there's none of that. Everything was immediate. Everybody was working. People were getting to know each other and finding out more about themselves rather than on a screen.
And so, interesting point. So, would you say now that when you're on film sets that you do see a lot of people on their phones?
Oh, hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
So when
everybody's more worried about getting a selfie of like, look, I'm on set, I'm working.
Wow.
Than like doing the work.
Interesting. And that definitely, I would think, would have some sort of play on the production itself, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's,
you're not engaged into it.
Yeah, you're getting paid to do a job.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you're working. Not here. You can do that after work. You can do that at lunch. The world is not going to end because you're not checking, your Instagram, for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or because you posted, some people, you sign NDAs, but when you don't, it's a free-for-all.
And so in the 90s and the early 2000s, before cell phones became, what was the overall, did you feel like it was more engaged from the entire crew? Or
yeah. I mean, people were there to work and there wasn't a sense of, I got to check what's going on. They were just working. And also you were doing film. You weren't doing digital. So you had to be on point. You had to, reloads took time. Film was expensive. There's an urgency there of, well, you didn't know any better because there was no cell phone. So, you had pagers. Mm-hmm. Somebody's pager went off. They had to run in. It was like, hey, my pager went off, dude. I got to find a phone.
823.
Yeah. But, it's changed the landscape. And, is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. That's up for debate.
Yeah. I can't remember what director it was, if it was Tarantino or something. Or maybe it was Fincher. I don't know. Anyway, but they're saying there's no chairs on set. Like, he didn't like people sitting down. He wanted people engaged. I imagine that's probably, a little bit exaggerated, but the idea that everybody is standing and engaged and involved with this entire process of filmmaking, I thought that was really interesting. And it kind of all plays to, in some of the shorts that we've done or any things, I definitely have looked over. Even I hired a guy to run camera B on an interview, and I'll look over and they're just literally like scrolling, and I'm sitting here engaged in the story, and I know they are being paid. They're not editing it, so they don't have to pay as much attention as I do. But then when you see that, you're kind of like, oh man, you're not engaged with this. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're there to work, and maybe you see something. If you're here, you're not seeing here, and you might catch something. You know, even directors. I've seen directors do it, and it's like, bro,
you're the man. You're manning the ship.
Yeah, you're the one where, you know, I'm not going to see Tarantino. I'm not going to see Fincher. I'm not going to see, you know, any major director on his phone. Guys like, you know, Guillermo del Toro, whatever. Anytime I've been around any of those people, they're not here. I go to, you know, TV, and I'm like, yeah. And it's like, you're getting paid a lot of money to do this, and respect it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, then everybody else is going to do it. It's like, oh, fucking director's on there. Why can't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the precedent.
And it's like, you know, you're not wrong.
It's funny you say that, not engaged on that. How I got in the industry, I was living in San Jose, California, and I answered a Craigslist ad for a home makeover show that E! Channel was shooting. And Niecy Nash was running it. She was the main host. And I just showed up. I had never been on a set before, and it's funny. I started off as the PA, you know, and I'm holding a bounce card, and they had a script supervisor. And that script supervisor's job mainly for this was continuity, because they were doing a couple different switch outs of something. And I remember sitting there just so happy to be on set and so engaged with the set that I was picking up even the little nuances of like the coffee cup in the right hand, open the door with the left hand. And I'm sitting here holding a bounce card. And when they cut the camera and asked the script supervisor, hey, what, you know, give me some continuity, he failed. And so I kind of just raised my hand. I said, coffee cup in right hand, door open left hand. And I remember the producer at the time, and my friend Jessica Everlett, turns and looks at me and goes, oh, interesting. And so it happened 3 more times within an hour into it. They ended up firing that script supervisor and literally took the bounce card from me, give it to them, and then had me sit in. And then I just was instantly a script supervisor for the show. And so that is such a really interesting point of, you know, even from the production assistants or the bounce card, being engaged can help you level up, can help you keep, and you're giving your opinion into it, and you're helping. And I think when you had said that, if had I been on my phone and holding this bounce card, those opportunities come, they would have just gone past me. But because I was so engaged, I was able to capitalize on them. And that ultimately led to getting a job to move down to LA, to work in the film industry, and to you know, live out a dream that I had already had always done. So
I worked out when I learned a lot. I did a lot of features, then I just got burnt out. I was like, you know, if I can do TV and stay home. And one of my neighbors was kind enough, Gary Goldman, to introduce me to Shameless and bring me in. He was the first AD. And when I got there, it was, you know, I have so much respect for John Wells and the way he does things. It's like he doesn't allow sides on set. And it's like your job as an actor is to know your lines. The script supervisor can help you, but you know your lines. That's your craft. Once you know your lines, then creativity can start. And, you know, sometimes I would watch them do 12 pages a day. And to watch Emmy Rossum and, you know, all of them, you know, Bill Macy, just know all their lines and just burn through them. But you saw that they knew it, so they knew the character, so things would happen. You know, sometimes happy accidents, like they would do something, and it was like, and it's because they knew their work and the craft and the material, and they were invested. And it's like, you know, if you're not invested, what's the point? And I understand, you know, I mean, I think that's been the challenge when the industry has moved globally, that it's grown so fast and so big that people just have come into it because there was advertisements on Craigslist because they needed crew, and guys like, hey man, I can make so much an hour there, but they're not invested because they weren't filmmakers. And that's, you know, probably the growing pains of the industry. It needs a generation or so where people like their kids grow up in the industry and go, okay, cool. Well, my dad did this, so it's cool. So I want to know about the industry. Or people that come in, it's like, I really want to be in the industry. And unfortunately, there's no criteria for anything or no levels. So sometimes people can just come in and like, hey, I'm doing great today. I've got a job. And it's like, I don't give a shit. I don't know about movies or anything, but I'm learning this one craft.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's what they do. And they learn that, and great. And they're happy because they're making a living that they wouldn't have. But it used to be like you came in because you loved the art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of tapered off a bit too.
Mm. What are your thoughts on the whole vertical movement? I know a couple of producer friends of mine who have done, big Netflix shows, Peabody Award winners,
Yeah.
Emmy nominators, and they're now moving into this vertical world, and they keep trying to, convince me, come over to vertical. And I hate vertical. I hate vertical. Anytime I look at I love.
No, the framing is, I know.
I want to see a picture. I don't see.
I know. Why can't you turn 16? Why can't you turn 16 by 9? And,
yeah. I mean, I look at the world this way.
Yeah,
I don't look at the world, So it's like, what are your thoughts on the whole vertical?
It's a weird phenomenon. Mm. It's really, it's taking off. You can't stop the train.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's better quality. But I think it's become kind of like TikTok, where people just watch it for amusement. I don't think, I watched one recently because somebody said, oh man, this is one of the highest rated ones. And it was just, it was like a train wreck, but you want to watch it because it's so bad. And I think that it's a sign of the times also of escapism. People watching this to escape from reality.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about timing. You could have done that 10 years ago, and people would have been like, "There's no way." Well, they did.
They tried, yeah.
Yeah, QB.
Yeah, and
QB tried it and it failed,
yeah.
And now it's a phenomenon. So it's everything. Again, it's just timing. It's amazing how it's like this huge company put all these billions of dollars into something and it failed.
Mm-hmm.
And now people are doing a grassroots movement, and it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It is almost it's so Lifetime lit, cheesy acting. It's just so. And I kind of dug through this platform. I think it was Reels, or I can't remember the name of the company. And it was just everything I was watching was like, I cannot believe people are watching this. There's no way people are watching this. And then I keep looking at the data, and it's like
it's massive.
More and more and more people are watching this. And then it blows me away thinking, are the new generation, do they not care about story in cinema, or is it just escapism? And then it's funny, I recently had a younger generation, Gen Z friend, through my sister, she's Gen Z, to watch No Country for Old Men. And they were absolutely bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes into it, and they were just on their phones, and that's one of my favorite films of all time. And watching that, going, wow. So what movies can I hook these people in with? What do you want to sit down and watch? And even just the Marvel, they couldn't even sit through that.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this, going, holy shit, we're doomed. Like, as a filmmaker who's finally getting to a place where I might finally get to do my first feature film this year.
Yeah.
Am I too late to the point of like nobody's gonna watch it, or is it just our generations, the older generation, millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, who will consume it? But then, is that who my audience is? Do I have no shot of making a film for an audience of a lower, or are they gonna eventually get burnt out with the brain rot of it and go, God, I want something more, something deeper?
Right.
That's something I'm always kind of.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Mm.
Again, I always tell people, just make something that you want to see,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully it'll resonate.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody that's ever done that, it has resonated.
It's true.
And sometimes, movies bomb, and the box office will become a cult.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did Idiocracy.
I love that
And,
movie.
it didn't go into theaters. They limited theaters. The studio didn't believe in it. And now it's like a docudrama.
Reality.
Yeah, it's reality. But it's still funny to watch. But it's like, art imitating life, life imitating art.
That's
I don't
scary.
know.
Not the right.
Yeah. That's like, was Mike Judge like, is he have a crystal ball that he was looking into.
Well, I mean, he's, I recently, because we have a mutual friend, Jason.
Yeah.
And he was one of the actors.
And that's where I met Jason.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We had. He is the security guard who's ushering him through the scene.
Yeah.
And me and him were talking. We were talking about the film and how real Idiocracy has come to now, even from what do you water your plants with? Brawndo. It's Brawndo. It's so crazy to see how that movie is now coming to reality.
Yeah, Barcode and Costco.
And then like WALL-E's kind of the same thing. We're just sitting back and watching, and it's crazy. So I think it's, as a filmmaker, trying to make it, trying to continue on with my career where I can hopefully one day own a home. I'm constantly trying to figure out how do I maintain my story, my truth, but also resonate with the large masses. And I'm constantly trying to figure that out and constantly stressed about it. It keeps me up at night going, am I in this too late? Should I just get out? I could keep doing documentaries. I know we've talked about.
But I think, it's gotten to the point also, all these fantasy stories and everything, we're repeating everything so much that I'm watching documentaries more now because I want to see real life people, and a lot of films that are being made about real life people are interesting because it's like, this is real.
There's no
I think,
IP.
Yeah, there's no IP. Yeah, sadly, there's no IP. But for me, it's like, wow, this is, something that captures you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just going to be like one of those things. Right now, there's something for everybody. And what's your lane that, you're going to be happy in?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we all have to do stuff for money and work. But, it's like, what's your joy and where is that?
And that kind of brings me to, if you wanted to do which you have a short film as well, or even a feature film, what does that look like in this current landscape? So part of what I want to do with this podcast is people watching to be able to, who want to create, who inspire to create, or maybe have been creating and now are learning how to pivot with this new. What can we do as creators? What are some of the, I guess, from your experience, if you were given $5,000 to produce a short film, how would you allocate those funds?
I try to pay everybody because I know I always believe that people's time has a worth. Mm-hmm. Even when I did my short film, I tried to pay everybody a little bit of something, even if it was close to nothing. And my friend Alexander, who was in the movie and in the short, and some of them were like, "Hey, we're going to give you the money back because I know it's out of your pocket." And I was like, No, I know how much you get paid. For you to come here and take this minimal amount, for me, is my way of saying thank you. And you gave me your talent, your gas, used your gas, your time, and this is the best I can do, and I appreciate it. I was like, I don't want to take advantage of my friendships and give you something, even though I know it's nothing. It's a sign of appreciation. But you've got these, now, which is great. You can do a film on there, so why not? It's like, usually, the quality's pretty damn good, if not great. So it's like, it's a great way. There's a website called, I think we talked about it, nofilmschool.com. And it's a bunch of guys from New York that started it and it's a great source because it has everything and anything you can go through and as a new filmmaker if you can't afford film school. And it'll, cameras, there's so much knowledge in there.
And so it's like a forum, is that what you're saying?
It's like a forum.
So you have questions, you can kind of go on there.
You can go on and ask certain questions, but it also has a lot of interviews with directors, camera equipment, what they used, it's just, it's film school 101. I mean, you can learn so much there quickly as to what to do and what not to do that will, you take advantage of what the internet has to offer as well. Because you can learn so much. I mean, I still, do dumb shit when I'm trying to figure something out. And I just go, let me go on YouTube. And there's a guy that's step by step. And I was like, wow, so I just spent an hour trying to figure this out, and I could have done it in 5 minutes.
And some guy in Nebraska
Yeah,
out of the
some guy,
back of his car with his phone.
Yeah, I was doing that with my motorcycle tanks. I was replacing my tanks on one of them, and it has like all this electronics inside. I was like, shit, I'm reaching around. Like, how do I remove all this? And I'm like, shit, I don't want to damage anything. I don't want to break anything. Go on YouTube, and there's this dude, step by step. He's even got a little camera in there showing all the clips, and I'm like, I almost screwed shit up when I could have just looked on here and relaxed and done it in 20 minutes. And then it was like, done. Oh, wow.
So if you had 5,000, you would invest in your team.
In my team.
Rely less on the physical hardware, or
yeah, I mean, and also, you know, where are you going to play this? What format? Which is the big thing now, and 90% of people are going to watch it on that.
That's true.
So why not use that, save the money, and pay people so they feel like they're invested?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like people's time. And right now, people, you know, need money.
So you mean not spending my 5,000 on all that great camera and not paying anybody to do it is not going to produce the most amazing film ever?
No. I mean, it may. You've got good friends, so you will.
But the camera looks so cool.
Yeah, but the camera, that looks great. But look, there's nothing wrong with that, because then you can rent it out.
Sure.
It's another avenue of things to do. I'm just like, I'm trying to downsize and keep everything always simple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got, you know, GoPro boxes of rigs and everything that I've built and I keep. And those are my tools. But, you know, sometimes I go through my storage and go like, I haven't used these in 5 years. Shit, you know, I'll keep it because we built it. But now, you know, with the joy of having cell phones, and the formatting is so good. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, if you can't afford it, just do it on that. As long as you're, you know, most people are going to watch it on their phones anyhow, unless you're selling it.
Yeah, if your dream is to do a Netflix series or
but you can still do a proof of concept.
It's funny you said. I've been reading more and more that proof of concepts aren't even getting legs anymore. It used to be you can have an idea, shoot a little bit, and now and this is all again just reading on the internet, so take it for what you will. But saying that's not even. It's like just build your own is what they keep saying.
Yeah.
Build your own channel, build your own movement, build your own IP.
Yeah.
And that's,
Again, it's a confusing time, but it's also a great time, but you can put your own shit out there.
That's big.
Where you never used to be able to. You know, I mean, think about it. If you couldn't do this 20 years ago, your level of frustration, like the level of frustration is a little less if you're willing to put the time in.
And go in a little bit of debt to buy all the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell the wife.
But no, yeah. Think about, you know, all these, you know, the gatekeeping and everything that everybody talks about. Like certain people, there's directors I work with that I wish, you know, shouldn't be directing, but they're part of the system.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go away.
Yeah.
So you just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you know when you're going in, when you hear the name, it's like, oh, this guy's going to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good point. The gatekeeping. Do you feel like? And this is some of the stories I hear. Like, I was able to walk on this Craigslist and then build a career out of it. I was talking to the set photographer. He works with Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise for many movies, and older gentlemen. He was saying that he was a kid and he saw a movie set being filmed across the street. So he walks on set and sees the set photographer and says, "What are you doing?" And then the guy says, "Here, kid," and gives him this opportunity. But now it's like, it's this weird point where it's like, I don't feel like I could walk on a set that I'm seeing Vince Staples is shooting his show in Long Beach down the street from me. Yeah. And I walk by and I see the entire setup. I don't know if I could walk in and just be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Hey, but what's funny though is I have more access to getting in there because now I have all the tools to do it. So it's this weird time where back in the day you could get those opportunities. But now you can't do that, but you still have access to kind of...
Yeah, now you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like a do-it-yourself thing. It's more about, you know, what are you willing to do? And you do it.
Yeah.
Rather than you know, as you're saying, like the opportunities and that mentorship thing has gone away because also, you know, COVID had a lot to do with that because they stopped people from going on set. So now, logistically, they're like, no guest on set, no this nor that. Security, you know, actors having stalkers, There's just a lot of factors now that society has brought into the game that wasn't there before.
Interesting.
So now it's harder to get that opportunity. You can't just walk up to somebody and say hi. You know, it's like you might, but that's rare, and you got to find that moment.
Yeah.
You know, we had that with the stunt community. It used to be people would go on set and say hi to people and give them their picture and resume. You know, now you don't have to do that as much because of digital. But, you know, people come by the set and, you know, people are like, hey, man, these dudes came by. You know, they can't do that. And I was like, hey, guys, you know, before you do that, just send an email, do something digital. Because I'm working on a show that has an actress that has stalkers. And we've got security here. And, you know, there's just a lot of factors, not a lot of layers. You know, also, you know, lawyers come into factor now. They don't want people on set that aren't working because if something falls on their head, liability-wise, it's just the world has changed. In some ways, it's not as friendly anymore. It's not as user-friendly, but it's friendly and it's
accessible.
Accessible,
right?
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah.
It brings me to a point. How does one go into getting into stunts? And I know that I just watched. I know we had talked about Fall Guy, and I introduced my mom, and the movie was. It was a fun ride. I love the actors.
David's
I love,
great.
And
David was a stunt guy, Leach, and you know he's a great person.
What is the avenue for anybody out there who's ever dreamed of being a stunt person? What is the avenue in this day and age to be in? It's not just go, hey, film myself. I'm gonna jump off.
No, it's not. I always tell people it's not about being a daredevil. Because daredevils get you killed, and it's you know, stunts, regardless of what people think, it does have its art form. You have to be able to repeat it. Sometimes you got to do it 5, 6, 7, 20. I've done shit 20 times. You know, so it's the art of repetition and keeping your mind. And you know, some people think, oh, it's like, you're all adrenaline junkies. It's like, no, some people are focus junkies. Everybody has their own, and everybody has their own path. You know, if a film is being done that has, you know, major motorcycle riders, you don't have enough. There's an opportunity there. You know, it's what's your skill level, and you know, it's important to be multi-skilled, which is hard because it costs money
and time.
You know, and time. So I mean, the best thing that all these people do is, you know, XMA, Mike Chet's place. There's Jam, where people go train, and that wasn't around 20 years ago. So it is now. And the easiest way that everybody gets in is fighting, because it doesn't cost as much money. So people become very proficient in fighting, and it's easy. And from there, you progress, because hopefully you make money. Then you can take driving schools and do all that and stuff. But some people come from a racing bike, racing or MMA. Or I think if you talk to everybody kind of has a different story of how they got there.
Interesting.
There's no real one set way. So it's just knowing what your skill level is and what you're capable of and what you're not. And if you're not working on that to become, you know, better at things, because in this day and age, again, financially and everything, you want somebody that can do 3 things rather than one that can do 1. And that's just, you know, and depending on what the actor that somebody's doubling or what they're doing is what they're capable of.
And so would you recommend somebody who does stunts to take some sort of acting classes as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, look, if I didn't, that's how I made my living, was playing myself, again, just being the bad guy. So, but having the stunt skill, because, again, financially now, they're not hiring 2 people, they're hiring 1. They don't have to worry about hiding your face. You know, there's less shots that need to be taken. There's a lot. So, and, you know, you're seeing more and more stunt people, you know, on screen now. And acting is a part of it, because you're performing. You're still, you know, even though you're doubling somebody, mimicking someone, you want to perform like they do. You want to bring life to it. And, you know, an acting class helps you feel confident about that.
Speaks the lingo as well,
Yeah, speak
right?
the lingo and just understand what
the nuances,
what actors are going through and what directors are going through, and, you know, just it's kind of a prep for when you get on set.
And so you had mentioned a couple. There are schools or classes?
Yeah.
Or
well, it's classes, you know. I
so it's like stunt classes?
Yeah. Mike has XMA over at 87 North, and he has classes now that, you know, just introducing people to stunts and fight classes, and you know, he's great. He's like the Tony Robbins of stunts, I call him. He's got so much energy and just willing to have so much to give, and he wants to give back, which is great. And then Jam is a gymnastics gym and martial arts, and people go there and train as well. So those are the two that I know well. You've got Tempest free running that Gabe and all those guys have. That's another source of, they do classes. So there's a lot more opportunity now that wasn't around. You know, back in the day, it was like somebody helped you get in, and you kind of hoped they would teach you. Now, you know, there's this motion picture driving school, you know, that teaches driving 101 and, you know, stunts. So there's stuff out there.
Do you think that there are, because I know back in the 90s, all the action films, there was such an amazing amount of action films. Do you think that there's not as many stunt jobs now? Or what is your thought on the overall landscape of?
I think it's probably the same. There's just a lot more people. You know, and the level of people is gone. You know, like you've got some amazing trickers and stuff, and you know, I mean, it's almost like X Games push the envelope, push the level of what people can do, and now people are doing stuff that's, you know, just another level.
Yeah, some of my favorite stuff to watch, actually more than some films, is actually the BTS stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm a huge Bond fan, the new ones, especially Daniel Craig. But there's this stunt where the motorcycle's driving and he's jumping this wall 50 feet up in the air, and it's like, oh, we can't do it because the wind is off by 2 miles per hour. We got to wait. And it was like the angle and everything, and watching this going like, so man, you got to train dirt bike jumping, massive dirt bike jumping. And then you have to acting. You have to then, you know, there's so much that goes into it. I'm watching that going, how do you get into stunts?
It's more of a science now, and you have people out there that are, you know, Olympic gold medalists. You've got engineers that are doing all the rigging that are highly, you know, it's become highly skilled now, the level, you know. And again, you can choose what level you want to be on. You could be on the lower level and where you wing it. You know, God
better
bless.
have good insurance. Oh.
Yeah.
Did I just hit something?
Yeah,
sorry.
power.
We got to move that. Okay. So yes, you better have good insurance for that one.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's one level, but you know, if you want to work on the higher level, you learn. And you know, again, there's, like everything in life, there's no guarantee. So you just kind of, you know, hope, and I always keep an open mind, because also with stunts now, you know, it's specialized. So there's people that are rigging, that are doing fire, they're doing car work. So, you know, if you're offered to find that niche, and somebody offers to help you, they'll be like, I don't want to do that. It's like, you don't never know. You might enjoy it.
And open up
give it
more
a try. But even if you don't, you learn something.
Yeah. So part of, you know, one of our original conversations when we were hanging out at the coffee shop, you know, with Origins, my current trajectory is I'm now trying to get into the Emmy system, and you've been such an amazing mentor in that you've been so helpful with just helping set the idea of what is expected, what I can do, and just helping me navigate this entire thing. You know, it's not as easy as you just sign up, go on, submit your film. Yeah. There's like a whole process, and so it can be very daunting for anybody who's doing it, especially if you don't have a producer doing it or a whole. Yeah. It's just me. I'm doing it all. So, in talking with you, you know, your experience within working for the governor's side of the Emmys, how did you get involved with that?
The prior governors, like let's say two governors ago, when I won my first Emmy, they were like, "Hey, you should get involved." And I was like, you know, because you have the you Governor's Peer Group, and then you have like you have a subgroup of people that we all rely on. Like it's 12 people. So the PGC, Governor's Peer Group, and I became a part of that because there were just some rule things that I had questioned, and they're like, well, it's not that easy, and it's like, okay, well, I want to be a part of that. Why? And, you know, the governors before me were great. They did as much as they could, and then I just kind of wanted to be a part of it, to follow through in their trajectory and not lose that. And just make it more open for the stunt community and try to find ways. You know, we've just gone through COVID, we've just gone through all this thing, and I was like, I want to be involved because I want to bring everybody back together. We had lost membership. And it's like, let's try to find fun events or things to do to bring everything together. I've been lucky enough to have what I have, but when I came in, it was, you know, it was a very closed group, and I always promised myself if I got to a certain level, I want to give back and not make it as hard as it was for me. Mm. You know, people want to make it harder for people, and some people still do. And I was like, why? You know, it's like, make this fun and not miserable. I mean, the hardest thing, you know, used to be going up to someone and giving them your picture and resume and trying to introduce yourself in 30 seconds. Yeah. And then you see them walk away and throw your stuff in the garbage, and you just go, I just drove halfway across town to, you know, get shit on. Note to self, never want to be that person. Mm. Give everybody the time of day, and finding a way of bringing people together. And, you know, I felt like the Television Academy is such a welcoming place. All the governors are great. And it's been like, I'm proud to represent, you know, my peer group, but also open it up to talking to other peer groups. And it's amazing how our industry sometimes doesn't understand what other groups do. And to get that cross communication of like, no, actually, that's not true. This is what, you know, it's like, do you guys have your own union? No, we don't. We're part of SAG. Oh, did not know that. You know, just being able to answer misnomers for other groups to help educate them and help us all work together better has been like my greatest joy out of the Academy. And we have the innovation group now, which was the AI task force, which I'm part of. And, you know, working with all the people that know far more than I do about AI. I love it. I love playing with it. You know, being an only child and being kind of an introvert, for me, it's a great way of expressing my brain to myself and making trailers that are useless and probably go nowhere. But at least I feel good about what I did, you know, on my time off. But to be around people that are just great innovators, and it's like inspiring to. It's kind of the governorship, even though I put my time in it, it also helps me feel like, you know, I'm around a, you know, creative process of people that are trying to find their way of helping push the industry in a direction that's good.
Mm-hmm. And would you say, because before, I guess, your involvement, since you've been involved, have you been seeing it being more exclusive to all filmmaking? Because for a long period of time, I would say, I mean, I've never been, but I'm assuming that it's very, like, the agencies and the studios kind of know who's gonna, or I guess, is it taking some of the lobbying out of it? Are you okay to talk about anything?
Yeah. Or I mean, we're always trying, you know, we're always trying to keep it fair. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part, because, you know, how, you know, for our peer group, as example, was we had rules with what a drama is and what a comedy, and sometimes, you know, as the industry evolved, we would have certain comedies that wound up in drama.
Like The Bear, would you say?
Yeah, The
like,
Bear.
It keeps being comedy, but I think it was like, is it something like that?
Yeah, but for us, it was, yeah, kind of that, because it's dictated by the network wherever they want to put their show. So we kind of felt like it's from the stunt side. If you're doing comedy, 90% of the time they're going to be like smaller budgets. They're half hours. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're talking probably $7 million for a budget is a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, but you're going up against a drama like Game of Thrones or something that's like $14 million an episode. Mm-hmm. You don't have a chance. Mm-hmm. So finding a way to fix the rules, so at least comedy is a comedy and drama is a drama, now they have a chance, and that in itself creates more people wanting to be involved and more people having a chance. There were groups that would have never been nominated that were, because now they were in a category that they had a chance. So for me, that was like getting the rules straight, and it was a process because you have to go through the rules and explain to them why. And, you know, and they understood. They're like, oh, we get what you're saying. You know, how do we fix the rules? And every year it's looking, as the industry progresses, I think every peer group's going through their growing pains and their changes. And it's like, what does this mean? That doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's been like the biggest thing for us.
Interesting. And so when would you say that change had started, or when you really started seeing some of that conversation at least being had?
Well, I think it's always being had, but I think in the last 5 to 6 years, it's really, you know, because you have streaming, YouTube, you have, you know, podcasts, you know, the Golden Globes are now including podcasts. So I think, and also, I mean, award shows and awards are business. Yeah. So they're looking for revenue and what's relevant and how do you change things. And I think they've been really on the pulse of everything and trying to do the best they can to keep it relevant and exciting and keep things moving forward and be open to talking to people. I mean, all the governors are just very open to talking to anyone and giving their time.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, because they're all volunteers, but they're all, you know, willing. They believe in what we're doing.
Yeah, I think I read an article recently. I think it was, I can't remember if it was maybe it was the Grammys, but somebody had kind of whistleblown. It came out and said that up until like a couple of years ago, maybe in this last year, that it was completely known who was going to win, from the studios to the labels, to the execs, they already knew, and it was so already curated for that. And so when I saw that, it's kind of a bummer, because you miss out on so much new talent, or like you said, smaller budgeted projects who might be doing this amazing thing, but just can't compete with those. So to hear that makes me feel good as someone who's in that.
But you see how the Emmys, how eclectic they are. You know, shows are winning from, you know, overseas, from here, it's become a more of a global, you know, award than just when people used to be like, Emmys used to be TV, which were pretty much America. You know, and 20 years ago, if you look at it, was here. Now it's global.
Interesting.
Which is great.
That is great. Yeah.
People are being exposed. You know, whatever you may think of Netflix and Amazon and everything, they're exposing people to more. That, you know, BBC. Some of the BBC shows are great.
Amazing.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, and the Korean filmmaking, you know, and the action stuff and everything and fantasy is just, you know, really visually stunning. So you're opening up to stuff, you know, that I still have a huge DVD collection of, like Wong Kar-wai and all this old stuff that now you can just readily watch. You know, and that's great too. If you're really like want to study film or anything, you can go online. You don't have to spend a fortune on buying stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I guess let's wrap this up with anybody who is looking to get in the industry or to get going. What is your overall message to anybody who wants to be a filmmaker in 2026?
Gotta really want it. I mean, you know, I always equate when I came to Hollywood. I was like, how did you feel? I was like, I felt like you're in Vegas on the tables. Sadly, some people, you can sit next to somebody and they roll the dice and they win right away, and you're still at the table, and you still may be there 20 years from now. So just know that there's no guarantee in anything. You know, just got to find, you know, your tribe and your joy, and your tribe may change from time to time. And, you know, it's not for the weak of heart. if you know, if you're just thinking like, hey, this is cool, I want to be famous, you know, go do a TikTok. You know, just go do that, or, you know, go be an influencer. It's less work and less thought. So, you know, again, I think, and that's the thing, there's different levels of stuff. And, work on your craft. It's, it seems to have died down the industry, thank God. But when they used to audition people based on how many influencers you have, it's like that does not make you good at what you do.
Agreed.
Yes, I may have a bunch of followers, but that doesn't equate to good work.
On-screen charisma.
On-screen, yeah. That doesn't, And look, if I can learn something, or I can go, anywhere that's doing new technology, and I can sit there for an hour or two and learn, so be it, man. Because I just learned something that I didn't know. Synapsis that we talked about, the LED screens. I spent time over there, and they're in the forefront of that, and it's exciting to be there and just to learn what can and can't be done, because that also helps me in my career, because I know my limitations, what can and can't be done. So when I'm working on creating something, I was like, well, if we do, are we going to do it there or are we not? Okay, so now I know how to adjust. So, it's just keep learning, never stop learning too.
You kind of answered my next question. What's your message for the people that have been in the industry?
Never stop learning. And I don't think it's fair for people to say, all the things about the industry's dead. It's over. It's shifting. But if you're 19, 20 years old and trying to do something, you don't know that.
That's true.
You don't know that because it's new to you. So it's kind of like, why burst people's bubbles? Let them learn for themselves. We all got to learn. We all got to have learning. We're all going to have pain, growing pains, and we're going to have joy in certain things you do, and you never know. It could be the next Steven Spielberg, the next, Guillermo del Toro, sitting there next to you, talking to you. Why crush them? You just, hey, take 10 minutes out of your time and talk to them, and, make them feel good about what they're doing, rather than you're dead, you're gloomed, why would you want to do this industry? You better pick something else. I heard that many a time, and I was like,
I see that all the
sure,
time.
Okay, cool, thank you for your time. I'm gonna keep trying, if that's okay with you. Now you see people like, oh man, I always knew you were gonna make it, and it's like, but you shit on me, didn't you? But okay, but thank you for that, because that motivated me.
Yeah.
So in some ways, thanks, I appreciate what you did.
It's like The Godfather. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
You'll do this for me. I'll never forget.
Yeah. But there's a lot. But again, there's a lot of that because people overspent. They got complacent. Like, I'm making all this money, I'm doing all this stuff, and it's never going to end. Everything ends at some point. We hope it don't. There was, I think, prior to me, the generation before, it didn't end, because they were in the heyday.
Golden age, yeah.
Golden age of money. Where people, there was no gate. It's like, just,
that faucet was just...
throw the paper. It's like, well, if you missed that window, now this is reality. And that it's, and again, since it's become more of a business, and everybody's trying to make something good, but their constraints are their budgets. So you do the best you can with what you have, rather than just like, oh, whatever, just throw it on the table. You've seen it where it's like, oh, who cares? That doesn't match. It's like, I do. And everybody should care. Because that, once you start doing that, I feel you go down that rabbit hole of not caring. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And, even though I've been doing this a long time, I still respect and love what I do. And I love watching what other people are doing good work. I respect all the work that people are doing. And it's like, hey, man, it's amazing, And I've texted people like, hey, I saw your show. That was great. I was like, oh, my God, thank you. It's like, I still love watching other people do good work. And sometimes I'm like, God damn it, I wish I would have done that. I'm jealous. And I'm like, and I'll tell people, it's like, I'm envious and jealous, but happy that you got to do it. It's like, but damn, I would have loved to have done that.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on it. And you've been such a, like we had kind of touched about, a mentor for me, even though, we just met each other 6 months, 8 months ago. it just means a lot to me, especially in a time now where there just isn't that type of mentor vibe. And so it just, thank you so much for
pleasure,
everything, man. And
yeah.
you've been such an amazing person.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, we're not done yet.
That's good. This party's just
Let's
getting
get started. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Yeah,
and yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.